Hey, Dr. Chu. Hey, Dr. Chu.
Hey, hello, Jared.
Hey, I have a question about healing trauma. So, I was in a car accident recently, and overall, like, it really wasn't like that bad.
Mm,
Like, no one had to go to the hospital. There were no like injuries.
yeah,
But I have these like knots in my stomach of like
yeah,
fear,
yeah,
and since then, I'm wondering what's a good way
yeah.
to work with that.
Okay, yeah. I'm really sorry to hear about that. And how funny the way things work is, like in some Buddhist traditions, people talk about how when you're down on your luck, like a whole flurry of unfortunate things has happened. When it rains, it pours, and like, yeah. By the way, I am not purveying the Buddha's teaching on this particular issue. I just thought that it's interesting that in many Buddhist countries people subscribe to the belief that somehow in moments of our karmic weakness, so to speak, and there's a lot of leakage in our protective aura, in our protective field. All these bad things they leap in, they creep in, and my theory for that is, well, if you find yourself in low energy, if you find yourself in dejected spirit, and there tend to be a lot of lapses in one's mindfulness and so forth, then one is more likely to become vulnerable to like a whole flurry of unfortunate events. Yeah. But anyways, coming back to your question, the thing about trauma is that it presents itself as something really overwhelming, really complex. And so when you're under the influence of trauma, when you're reliving your trauma, you feel like you're dealing with something that's really scary. That's like so much bigger than you. But when we exercise appropriate attention, we attend to an aspect of experience that's manageable to us, that's digestible to us. So instead of having to deal with the whole trauma, right? All the scary things, all the gory details, all the complex storylines and so forth, we deal with one manageable aspect, and that depends on the person. So one possible manageable aspect is as follows: sensations, reaction. That's it. That's it. And greatly simplify, greatly pare down the whole complex storyline. Oh, this thing happened to me. How unthinkable. This does have to do with my evil karma. This is blah 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 blah. All those things you go, okay, I'm not gonna go there. I'm just gonna focus on very simple, manageable aspect, sensations and the tightening around them. Sensations and the proliferation of imagination upon them. That's it. Just focus on this one thing. And then you'll realize that it is totally within your power to instantaneously diminish the intensity of that trauma. Now, I'm not saying that you would become necessarily instantaneously cured of the trauma. That usually takes time. But however, even if you've only managed to see that you're able to instantaneously diminish the intensity, the momentum, right? And that whatever momentum you feel coming from trauma, from a traumatic memory, it is only an appearance of overwhelming force, overwhelming momentum. It is only an appearance. It is nothing other than just the texture of your experience, right? So when you realize that, then the rest is easy. The rest is just abiding in time, allowing time to heal, to heal that habitual tendency, right? So the first part is the most difficult. How do you have the right attitude? How do you have the right conviction about trauma? What kind of power do you think you have in the face of overwhelming trauma. If you're coming from a place of strong conviction, I'm completely transcendent of whatever trauma can throw at me. I have the ability to instantaneously, with the dropping of a single intention, with a tiny tweak of a thought, then the intensity goes from lethal to completely manageable. And then it's just a matter of allowing yourself to approach the sensations correctly. Like I said, it can be sensations plus noticing the tightening and you soften the tightening. Or it can be sensations and then an adjustment in the way you frame those sensations. What do I mean by that? When discomfort, when that knot happens, right? In fact, it doesn't necessarily just start out as knot like sensation. It's an uncomfortable sensation, but then your imagination kicks in and go, oh, that's a knot in my stomach. Okay. And then, oh, this is happening to me again. Oh, this is blah, 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 blah. Okay. Some of the more helpful reframing involves the following. I welcome whatever trauma can throw at me. Why? Once again, I am the sort, I'm talking about myself. I'm not necessarily talking about you, Jared. I'm the sort of stupid meditator who would just become complacent in an uneventful life. I had two academic advisors when I was in graduate school. One is a perfect gentleman, the most urbane, the most soft spoken, gentle soul you can have for an academic advisor. The other is a disciplinarian. All right. When I ask the second guy, how do I write dissertation? He says, give up your social life, give up exercise, give up fun activity, give up movies. William, you're too smart for your own good, blah, blah, blah. He was like, he was just tough on me. And then when I recall back my college years, my graduate years, like who really helped me the most, really offered me something substantive with regards to my academic practice, my scholarly endeavors. The second guy. Yeah. So I'm the sort of person who could really use painful reminders. Okay, if unpleasant sensations arise, that galvanizes me out of my complacent slumber. You see, I am yet completely free from blind reactions. There's still something I need to work on. I don't want to wait until the moment I'm dying to realize that I'm far from being liberated. I would much rather dealing with uncomfortable sensations when I'm alive and then, be properly reminded that there's work to be done. So you reframe that experience. You welcome it. You go, how lucky am I? Right? In fact, whatever unlucky thing you think you've encountered and whatever, like things you really don't want in your life, like the trauma that you're talking about, treat it as the absolute best thing that's ever happened in your life. And you say that out loud in your mind, you can utter it. You go, you know what, my damn friend, you are the absolute best thing that's happened in my life. And so I'm not complaining about you. I'll not hold grudge against you. I don't feel bitter about you. I welcome you, my friend. Come sit by my side. Teach me. Teach me. I'm going to open myself completely to your teaching. You reframe those sensations. That's what I mean. Okay. Make uncomfortable feelings meaningful to you. Don't suffer meaninglessly in life. If there's suffering in your life, make it meaningful. Sensations, tightening. Simplify the whole trauma thing to just this. Sensations, reframing. Make Buddha Dharma very, very simple. How can I sum up the Buddha Dharma for you? I'll try in the following. Enjoy peace in an increasingly natural way. That's it. So even in uncomfortable sensations, see if you can enjoy peace. And if you can't, right, initially you have to resort to really unnatural methods, reframing, blah, good, fine. But then your goal is to enjoy it increasingly naturally. On some occasions, you'll realize, hey, I don't even need reframing. All I need to do is just chill. Just not to tighten around those sensations so habitually. That's it. How can I do so more quickly, more efficiently, more unreservedly, without delay? There are occasions when you need reframing. Right? The mind is so loud, it's complaining big time, it's struggling, fighting, and you refrain. Then you go, you know what? I'm not going to suffer in vain. All the suffering I go through in life, they're just going to make me a more compassionate person. They're going to make me wiser. They're going to make me more alert. They're not going to waste. I'm going to see to it. You refrain. And then there are occasions where, you know what? I'm too lazy to reframe anything. Let me just chill. It's whatever you could see that's helping with your inner peace. Do that. Choose the one that's easier. Choose the one that's more natural. Okay, good question. Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, yeah. Okay, move on to the second step. Okay, and this is don't just remind yourself that this is a manifestation of conscious, but diligently probe, feel the texture of consciousness. It's almost like you've come across a movie screen for the first time in your life. You say, "Wow, what is this magical thing that is displaying all these things?" And so you couldn't help but you couldn't contain your curiosity. You reach out and you feel the surface of the screen. Ah, this is what it feels like. This is what it feels like. Okay, so this is the second step. Maybe we're not yet ready to stabilize that perception, but do this first. Okay, you want to get a tactile sense of what is experienced. Don't just remind yourself that all is experience. Don't just remind yourself all is consciousness, but rather you want to feel what is the suchness of consciousness. We go through experiences in life, but we're always reacting to experiences blindly. We are reifying those experiences like they are concrete things and they offer this amount of resistance. They can attack us with this momentum and so forth. But rarely Have we abide in relaxed awareness and just feel the texture of experience? If I don't know, like a robot asks you, Jared, what is it like to be to have an experience? Right? It's kind of like you're trying to respond to that in a serious way. What is it like to have an experience? Okay. And this is a way to help you probe more deeply to develop a tactile contact with experience and not just a mental reminder. Oh, I am experience, I am experience, I am consciousness, I am consciousness. Does that make sense? Yeah. You're not, your goal is not to come up with a concrete answer. Oh, the texture is smooth. Oh, the texture is rough, right? Experience feels to me like blah, blah, blah. It's not that. It, when you're really trying to be in contact with the texture experience, you are left speechless. You're like, thoughts stop on your tracks. You're like, what the, eh, what, what can I say about it? I, whatever you think you can say about the texture of experience is just a concept. It's just a memory. It's just a reference point. What is this? What is it? And you do that, you are already training and trying to become absorbed in the present moment. That's one of the first things you can do to become stabilized in that perception. And this is why the Zen tradition tells us the greater the doubt, the greater the enlightenment. No doubt, no enlightenment. It's really trying to get, do you have the probing spirit? Are you genuinely curious? What is this? Don't take it for granted. Don't settle for easy answers that thoughts throw at you. And make sure that as you probe deeply, abide in ease, abide in relaxation. Don't get all tense up. All right? you don't want to you don't want to become all heady and like shifting the center of gravity to here and then I am just consciousness and no, no, no. All right? Experience is non-localized. You don't need to shift your gravity of attention, your center of gravity anywhere. You can just lay back, be perfectly relaxed, and feel its texture directly, immediately, without mediation. That's how you become absorbed. When you're absorbed this way, extraneous concepts naturally fall away. You'll see. It's interesting. Time and space may be shown to be fabrications that they aren't. There is just this. What can harm you? Why are you scared of unpleasant experience? Why are you scared of trauma when it is just this? What is this? When you're pressed for words, what sort of words? You're forced to say empty, unobstructed, non graspable, not a thing, no sign, perfectly quiescent, harmless, transparent, wide open, boundless, not localized. I'm not giving you dogmas. I'm just helping you to frame the probing. Yeah. There's a lot of joy of discovery to be had, by the way, when you really realize, it's just boundless consciousness. And it's of this flavor, this texture. You're no longer afraid of your own mind, you know? Why are we afraid of trauma? Because we're afraid of our own mind. What is it like to be afraid of one's own mind? Inside you're haunted by phantoms. The only power is coming from you, from your reaction, from your fear response. Otherwise, they're phantoms. By definition, phantoms. They cannot touch you. They cannot impinge on you. That's the nature of all consciousness, of experience. Who gets impinged on by the experience? Look at that. The idea that, oh, Jared, I'm here being oppressed by these experiences. Who's that Jared? The Jared is the same texture as this. Unimpingeable, unassailable, empty, wide open. It only appears to appear when it's rarefied, when it's clung to, when there's neurotic tightening around that idea.
Dr. Chu,
Yeah, Alice.
yeah, can I ask you another question? Yeah, so I think you make an example like, you ask question like, do you exist, right? So I said, I am. Yes, I am. So, uh, so what I'm understand is right now, I understand is like, I am the awareness. I I'm a unlimited and I am not dying and I don't have birth. That is me. Yeah, because I said
Okay.
I am.
So Alice, in practicing in such a way, the most important thing is not just to recite these teachings as mantra. Oh, I am awareness and so forth, right? The most important thing is when you're reminding yourself, I am none of the phenomena. I am emptiness. I am open space. I am without form, right? You see how that is helping with inner peace. That's the most important part of this practice. It's helping you to become more willing to let go of intentions, of mental activities. You see? So when you say I am awareness, your main job is not to figure out, oh, in what way, in what philosophical way am I awareness? You're not trying to figure it out. You're shifting your identification so that you become at peace inside. That's the most important part. I don't know if that makes sense, right? So like this, when you think I am Alice, ooh, not easy at all. Being Alice is not easy. I can imagine. Right?
Right.
Versus I'm nobody. I have no form. I'm empty space. Which kind of identification brings about greater peace? The latter one, most likely, right? If
Yeah.
you say that you are Alice and then you feel tremendous amount of peace, wow, you're a very unusual individual, right? Right? Or I am a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm Chinese, I'm American, right? And then you feel tremendous peace. That's very unusual.
Yeah.
Right? Versus, and when you look into your experience, I am boundless consciousness. There's only this texture called such, right? And then you see that there is a subtle shift in your identification. You're no longer dealing with contents primarily. You're dealing with what I would call like a perennial experiential feature of the mind. Something that's always there. When you identify with that, chances are you're likely to experience peace. And then using peace as your guide, let me see if I can further adjust the way I identify. Let me see if I can further drop the identification act. That's the key, Alice. Don't get caught up with a philosophical figuring. Oh, please explain to me in what way I am awareness.
Yeah, yeah. But
Whatever answer I can tell you,
yeah.
it will make you happy for 2 hours. And then afterwards, you have a new question. Right? Why? Because there's no inner peace, you see?
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't be content with a content answer, but rather look at the way your mind identify with emptiness, with consciousness, and see if it settles. You experience peace. Once again, what is the summary of all Buddha Dharma? We are training to enjoy peace more and more naturally. That's it. That's the heart of Buddha Dharma.
But Dr. Chu, is it exist? Nibbana is not exist or non-exist, right?
Yeah.
So if I said I am, do you exist? Yes, I am. It's kind of a paradox, right? To Nibbana.
All right. All right. Instead of looking at that from a philosophical point, okay, which is not helpful, look at that from a different angle. Do you want to be non-existent? No, you don't. Scary. What the heck is that? I don't even know what non-existence means. I never experienced that. Right? And what's the point of non-existence if it's not happy, if it's not a pleasant state? Right? You don't want to be non-existent. Okay? Now, do you want to be existent? Now, being existent means being existent as something, as someone. Do you want to be reborn as a Chinese? No, you probably don't want to be brainwashed by the CCP and, having to be labeled in an ethnic way and, like be indentured to a whole host of cultural expectations where you have to be filial, be good to your mother, and be patriotic, be nationalistic, and you don't want to be reborn as a Chinese. Do you want to be reborn as American? What? You want to be fat, lazy American again? You think Americans are without suffering? No, I don't want to be reborn as American, right? What sort of existence do you want? Okay, if there's really a kind of existence I want, quote unquote, it has to be so free. It has to be so without burden, right? And what is the freest? What is the most burden-free type of existence you can imagine? It is an existence that is not definable, that is not locked down, that is not, you're not pigeonholed into a status, right? And be subject to all the conditions. And in that sense, you're not existent. Because when people talk about existence, people talk about the way you're locked down, the way you're manifested, the way you're defined, the way you're indebted to different things, the way you have to be dependent on different things, right? So when we say that Nibbana is beyond existence, we're not saying you're non-existent. We're just saying you're so utterly free. Gosh, you're you're so utterly free. We cannot say that you're this or that. It's in that sense you're not existent. Does that make sense?
So how about I don't want to exist?
You don't want to. Why do you not want to exist? Because you're suffering right now. You couldn't
Yeah,
wait to become non-existent. Is that really a good thing? Do you really want to not to be existent?
yeah.
You really do? That means you're
Yes,
suffering.
yes.
You're suffering. That's why you have a want. You want to get into non-existence, right?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
Non-existence is a way to escape, right? To end the wretchedness right now, to end the misery right now. Therefore, you want to go into non-existence. But do you really want to be in a state of wanting to go into non-existence? No, you don't.
But you have pain. If you have pain in the body and then you see the old people, they are dying. So at that time you want to non-exist, right? I want to
Right. But
non-exist.
then that desire to not want to exist doesn't stop the pain. It doesn't end your suffering. It itself is another kind of suffering because you couldn't wait to be in another state. You're becoming. Does that make sense? Even when you're escaping, you're becoming. You're becoming. What is becoming? Becoming is a compulsion, is a drivenness to be elsewhere, to become another state. That's called becoming. And then wanting to not exist is a becoming.
Oh,
Look,
so
look, Alice. How about this? Nibbana, it's such a freedom from suffering that there is no desire to want to become non-existent. There's no desire to want to become something either, to become existent. It's so free. It's it's such a complete rest of suffering that you will not be unhappy about existence, non-existence, or doubting about these two. And none of that applies. It's okay. Don't worry.
oh, okay.
Yeah. Right now, for you, wanting to become non-existent is only an issue because you're suffering, and therefore you're experiencing compulsion. You're experiencing drivenness. But
Oh,
Nibbana is not like that. In Nibbana, there's no want, there's no lack, there's no drivenness.
oh, okay. So it's kind of life situation. It's kind make me, yeah, feel
It's
like,
really the very nature of awareness, really. It's the very nature of awareness. Awareness is like that. It's free from drivenness. It's free from want. It's ever at bliss. It's so blissful that it doesn't care if you want to describe it as non-existent or existent. If you say you don't exist, you're not bothered by that at all. If you say Alice, you don't exist, you're not bothered by that at all, right? Or people insist due to their religious belief, no, you have to exist in some form after you die. You're not bothered by that at all.
oh,
You're perfectly abiding in just this. Whatever heck people want to imagine what this is it's okay. It doesn't bother you.
okay. Uh, yeah. Okay, I think about it. Yeah. So what if I want to becoming non-exist? So I will, I mean, reincarnation
Yeah, yeah.
to the non-exist. What is non-exist?
You only have the impulse. You cannot control the outcome. We could have the desire to become rich, but that desire to become rich doesn't guarantee that your rebirth is, being reborn as a rich person. No, it doesn't guarantee that. You're just suffering from that becoming. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Yes.
Just because a person has a lot of lust, right? Oh, I want to have the company of 100 beautiful women, doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to be reborn into a state where 100 women swoons at his mere presence. It doesn't mean that. But then what is for sure is there is this becoming, there is this drivenness. This drivenness, this becoming itself
You suffer.
is a mental defilement that will cause you to always seek. It will cause you to never be able to rest.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Understand. Yeah. Thank you
Mm.
so much, Dr. Chu.
Okay.
Yeah.
In psychology, typically, what would happen if all that you desire is not to exist? Would you actually end up becoming non-existent in a psychological sense? No. In psychology, if you try to push something out of existence, usually something unexpected would happen, something unintended would happen. In
Oh,
psychology, if you go, all I want is to cease to exist, right? Would the end result be perfect peace and then you're no longer existing anymore? No. No. The result is some kind of unintended consequence, like a perversion of desire. That desire coming up in a different form. Right? You're running away from being someone usually means you're becoming something else. Unexpected. Right? You're trying to not want to be a human being. It could be a very noble goal, but it could also mean that you're being reborn as a dog. Right? If you don't want to be a human.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, yes, I see. Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And so the Buddha's way is not, oh, suffering sucks. I want to get rid of everything. Let me destroy everything. Let me go into nothingness. That's not the Buddha's way. The Buddha truly understands psychology and truly understands that the intrinsic essence of the mind is neither destroyed nor ever produced. It ultimately is no issue of, you bring into non-existence anything at all whatsoever. There's just peace without beginning, without ending. There's no process.
Yeah, okay, I see. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Okay. So if there are no other things, we could call it a day too, right? I mean, except for people wanting to ask school-related issues. Stay put for a little longer. Is that good? Or if you have other things in mind, by all means. Okay. So if not, maybe we'll see each other in a couple weeks. Okay. If not sooner. And everyone feel free to log off except maybe Ruojing, right? Ruojing, if you have school related issue, please let me know right now. Otherwise, I'm going to log off too. Are we good, Ruojing?
啊，老师，我没听懂您。
哦，其他人都可以自由下线的。Everyone feel free to log off. I guess except you, right? I just wanted to double check with you if you have school related issues or 你有